But we head to Oregon.
Hey, and look at this, no buck ban, by the way, so I was right. But a sledge ban the other way, which is funny because it now means that if you want to use the soft breach, you have to use buck. So it's almost like it swung the entire different direction.
It's only a little bit of a strange one. Thatcher, Sledge, Valkyrie are current 3 with W7M yet to decide. I kind of like how Flores has made his way through. Obviously, we think about the drones that they bring, and we think about what that is able to do in terms of shields and just how important shields can be here on this map. Not only on the basement, not only on laundry when you're looking to try and approach elbow and make your life a little bit easier moving on through there, but there are some really powerful shield placements that you can have up on that top floor and even in meeting and kitchen as well. So there is use across the board. And as I finish my point quite nicely, Alamau obliges. He's going to be playing Flores in this opening round.
No, he's not.
Oh, that was like a last second change. Are we seeing the six
got he got that in there. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Yeah, it looks
there
like
we
he's
go.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now this is an interesting one, the fact that he's decided to bring the Flores, because when W7M are going to be looking for recent VODs upon which to base how they approach this game, one of the most recent instances of Team 1 playing on Oregon is in the series they played against SSG, where they beat SSG 7-5 on Oregon. It was map number 3. But the thing is Flores wasn't available then. So whatever it is that Team 1 bring out here is definitely going to be different to what they did in SI. And that's going to make it very much harder to read into. Similarly, you know, if we look back in stage 1, these two teams, when they played against each other, was also on Oregon. It was an 8-6 win to Team 1. But they're not going to be able to look at that and really derive much from that either. This is all in the past, and Team 1 are definitely bringing something different. They definitely have new strategies, so W7M are going to have to play that on the fly.
Kind of one of the more exciting things to see out of this stage as a whole, really, that how the teams look to try and approach because of changes. And we have changes in Siege very regularly, but it's not always that you get an operator such as Flores that's going to come in and be up there in terms of pick rate and have a very particular job to direct a bit of a problem that was sort of generating and developing over the last couple of seasons. Now seeing a direct counter, to that utility soak meta that isn't reliant on a throwable or something that can be caught inside of an ADS. So it brings us nicely into almost what is going to be a new chapter, and it does make things like VOD review still relevant, but you've got to go at it with caution. You've got to go at it with the right mindset, because it isn't always going to be a full picture of how you want to try and force or play a new operator.
'Tis but the curse of a new meta and a new patch. It's always exciting though, because you know you're going to see something new. You're going to see something fresh. Still, everybody's standing on both sides, and Team 1 are going to be prepping the meeting hatch so that they can not necessarily drop down into electrical, but at least hold control over it. Likely throwing in or shooting in some projectiles so that they can remove utility. It also applies pressure onto that player. This is GDN, who's down currently in Harry Potter, but would want to play on the other side of the electrical wall. And look at this. All of these ADSs right by Herds as well, which should give him relative safety, but also potentially easy to shoot off.
They're lined up like ducks in a row. We're going to see a pocket reinforcement now used on that elbow wall, but Panico instead. I didn't realise initially that he was on this side of things, but he's chosen to keep himself inside of elbow, and he's really going to play this with his life. He has a C4 to be going at, but it's quite an aggressive stance to be taken. We see one Flores drone thrown in to remove the Banshee. Neskin now going to be able to prep a nade and get that on through. Panico only going to get chipped on down. The C4 comes on out. Alamau unable to shoot it in time, and that will land.
Oh my god, not only is that Alamau their star player, but that also means the Flores is off the board. Oh, that was a great shot as well from Panico, and now the kills just keep coming in. GDN adding on a 3K at the end. What an excellent first round for this game, Ollie.
Unbelievable stuff there. I was pretty surprised, I'll be honest, when we saw the positioning of Panico there. It's a bold move to say, yep, we're going to pocket reinforcement this off, but I'm arguably going to be on the wrong side of it. And I'm going to be left in a situation where I have to now get kills. And he did. His C4 landed. He was able to pull the shotgun out and do some damage as well. Team One looking very one-dimensional there. Their entire focus was really on that elbow and not even really on the back stairs. Like, they weren't really pushing those back stairs onto Pillar and Shaiko all too much. There wasn't even that much pressure coming in from the electrical box hatch inside a meeting. It really was just a very flat approach.
So if anybody had any doubts about whether or not W7M were going to be able to stack up against Team One, and I'll admit I am one of those people, that first round has certainly dissipated them to an extent, because that was very well played, and it certainly did help the fact that Team One had quite a mono-dimensional way of pushing, so W7M knew that they could face all of their attention in one direction. I mean, for example, I mentioned the ADSs that Hertz had with him. Well, that would have been so much harder to provide value had there been pressure coming in from Freezer, for example, by the attackers. So there were a number of things that W7M did in that round that worked for them because Team One weren't coming in from another direction. They weren't applying pressure elsewhere. Well, W7M have decided to go upstairs to Kids' dorms for the next round. This time, no Flores is going to be in play, and instead Alamau has decided to bring his trusty buck, which if you are new to watching BR6 and you've decided to come and watch some Brazilian Siege after SI, you'll probably enjoy watching him on the buck. It's quite a show.
I think that's likely how we're going to see Flores played as well, just on specific sites where you know that you're going to be coming up against a certain configuration, and then elsewhere when we know what Alamau is capable of on this book in terms of putting pressure on vertically. He's going to be opting to play this instead. Now, W7M are obviously aware of this, and they have prepared accordingly. Do have Mav underneath, going to be playing the Goyo, so the ability to take those engagements, all the utility, all the Goyo shields will already be placed on down, so there's no worry about losing all too much. A C4 as well, if he has to try and start thinking about playing vertically or even just keeping himself alive. It really is all going to come down to how much information here Team One can gather. For the time being, there's a lot of players stacked up outside a double window. Herds is going to see one, and he's going to take his chance.
All right, W7M, I see you. Team One's struggling too, or I suppose they're seeing you after they die. Ooh, a nice reaction though from Lagonis, the young gunner, one of our streaming stars of the region. One of the players who gets compared to Bolo a lot, but I think that's mostly been ascribed to fantasy these days. Guy holding onto the angle through into games, as the games wall has been opened by the Hibana pellets, as you can see, but so far no one looking to push in that way. KDS gets a kill onto Panico, and Team One maybe going in for a rush. Either way, they're pressuring onto the white stairs.
Quickly moving up the white stairs and quickly moving into the line of sight of Mav as well, as he's still being left. Finally, he'll be downed and dealt with by Lagonis, leveling things up to an equal 2 versus 2. Without Mav, I wouldn't like to think where W7M would be here, as this is still very winnable for them. We've got Lagonis at the top of the white stairs. He's looking to try and push on in. Can he gather the information? Neskin finds a really important frag over onto GDN. That's going to do something to give a big advantage here for Team One. Lagonis with the swing onto Guy. Not sure if the info was there or if it was just a process of elimination, as Team One were really lacking in the information department, but they respond with a round.
They were lacking in the information department, but I think for a lot of that round, Team One had the benefit of being able to mostly stay where they were standing. You know, W7M were surrounding them, and yeah, W7M got a couple of early kills, but Team One didn't really have to rush about to respond to what W7M were doing. It was W7M who had to rush about to do what Team One were doing. So that was a good infiltration there from Team One. Nice couple of kills from Mav as well, just looking at that on the replay. Again, we had the 3K from GDN. on round number 1, the 2K from Mav, round number 2. So the old guard who are coming back in, they're proving their worth nice and early.
Seems to be a bit of a theme that is going through the course of the day, and that players that are coming onto rosters and making their debuts on their respective teams are coming out and performing. Think back to the previous game, and we saw pretty much the lion's share of the kills coming in for the rookies. So nice to see it continuing here.
Do they count as rookies?
I mean, the rookies to the team. They're not rookies to Siege. But sure, you know, you could be an experienced Siege player and you go on to a brand new team, and I think you're still classed as a rookie a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, who's gonna, like, bear the brunt of all the rookie jokes if not, you know?
Well, it's true. It just makes me think that, you know, there are so many people out there who have been calling for MVK to get back on a team, and just the idea of someone calling him a rookie, if that were to ever happen, sort of makes me laugh. So,
I think the time that you're a rookie is maybe a little bit shorter if you've already got previous.
Okay, you're
maybe
a rookie for your first play day. That's it.
Yeah, rookie for the first play day for sure.
This is the rookie day for Mav and for GDN, and they're proving themselves as rookies. So. And we do have the CGG Rookie of the Year also in this server right now, because that was indeed Alamau.
See, you can call anyone a rookie. It really is one of those things. Looking a little bit closer toward this round, we are dealing with a different site. We have seen Meeting Room be chosen here by W7M as they try and find a little bit of success on able to lock it down inside of dorms, and instead looking to try and spread themselves a little bit more thinly and really give Team 1 something to search on out.
This is actually quite a popular site here in Brazil. In other regions, you're more likely to see dining be chosen over meeting, but they do indeed like it here. Now that is a sound cue that GDN is going to hear, especially now the ADS has been triggered. There's a nade and a flash, and finally GDN is dispatched with as Team 1 methodically ensure his demise. Now Guy is very far forward over in the green corridor and could find himself getting punished if he gets caught out. So it's the job of Mav to try and hold on to these lines of sight where he could be attackers over on the tower stairs.
I'm not sure if he got a glimpse there of what he was looking for. Instead, just going to go out with a C4 for the time being. I'm going to land for him. I'm going to try and search out a little bit of drone intel as well. Herd's going to be holding the cross upstairs. We've got Levy looking to try and pressure that, as attic control is very crucial when you're looking at taking into meeting. Levy able to put a few shots in, but sees a few in return. Eskin may be looking to try and play aggressively onto this. I do worry about the side of Team 1, and they've not really got anything to root these players out with. There's no nades left. ADS going to fall now as Neskin looks to make a bold attempt at wiggle peeking his way on through. How does he find that frag over onto Mav? Herds, he's going to get taken down as well from those backstairs. Panico left to try and make something happen. Does have a C4 and is going to look to try and lob it up through the hatch. Unfortunately for him, it will not land, and Lagonis is likely going to confirm this plan. Guy tries, but he can't make his way up on through. Panico now, the last remaining hope for W7M inside of this round. It's the first kill. He knows where the plant's going to be going down. It's a very default location. What he didn't know was that Lagonis was going to be peeking him just off the side of the bomb chassis.
That was an interesting round. When we got to the point at which you said, what are Team 1 going to do at this point? You know, they're all kind of shoved at the back, and then a kill comes in and suddenly everything starts happening, tumbling down the mountain. It was a good point. You know, they were out of projectiles. The only thing that they had available to them at that point was the Capital utility, because Levy was still holding on to all of that. And he did eventually use it, but they didn't use it to facilitate that engagement. But it was risky. They needed that opening kill to be able to force their way through. And that's exactly what happened. And Guy, who I mentioned earlier, who had been so far forward up pushed towards the tower stairs, he retreated all the way back to kitchen. And it was a monumentally risky for him after that to even try and engage onto the attackers, because by that point, basically all of his teammates had gone down. And Panico at the end, you know, he He had to try and come up the stairs. We even heard the X-Kairos going off. I don't know if that was to try and cover up sound cues or if that was to try and put pressure on down below if Panico was still down there. Whatever it was, Panico couldn't pull out the kills that he needed. So what Team 1 needed, very evidently in that round, was to just get that pick that facilitated the push forward.
And it was off the back of the Capital utility and off the back of Neskin wiggle peeking his way on past that reinforced wall and just getting himself a line of sight through the breach. It was what seemed to be a 1 in a million shot over onto Mav. It was one of those where you've just got to kind of pre-fire and hope for the best. You know there's a player over there. You know what you're capable of. You know how the mechanics of this wiggle peak are going to work. Unfortunately for Neskin, it paid off. It gave them that entry on into sight that they needed. And there was a slow rotation, let's be honest, from the guys on the side of W7M. Attic wasn't really contended for as much as it could have been. It could have been fought for a little bit more heavily, and maybe, just maybe, you could have been able to get a couple of kills and then start to work down from that hatch. But ultimately, you've got to try and keep hold of Attic a little bit better, because if you've got Attic, that plant does not go down. Now, you have noticed we are in a pause. ADS, he's got some problems with his mouse. Not sure what's going on with that one, but I'm sure he's going to get himself sorted, and we're going to get back into the game shortly.
Like, they're just looking at, well, you guys obviously can't see, but they're putting the lobby back together, and they have to select which operators were banned. And the title for it in Portuguese is Banimentos. I love that. That's such a cool word.
I enjoy how that gets you. I enjoy how that's something that you find humor in.
But, like, it's such a stupid word.
You can't say that. It
Of course
might be
I can.
silly to you.
It's fine. Anyway, no, they're just getting the lobby back together now, sort out KDS's mouse issue. One thing I will say, though, however, is even though Team 1 have been able to take these last 2 rounds, it hasn't been with ease. And so W7, and it's so early in the game, you can't look at like a 2-1 scoreline at this point and be like, oh yeah, it's so dominant to one side. It's crazy. Like, it doesn't work like that when you're this early in the game. But W7M have looked really strong in terms of what it is, the way they're setting themselves up. And so for me, when we're trying to think about what the answer to the question, has these roster changes made a difference, will be, because we can't really fully answer that question right now, I'm leaning towards the idea of, yeah, they've made a significant difference. Mav and GDN have proven so far that they can put in value to the team. You know, the team don't look lost. They don't look like they're floundering, which is what we saw a number of times in stage 1. They really looked like they were going that way. And so it makes me excited to see where the rest of this is going to go, because I don't think this is going to be a super easy victory for Team 1, if they even find the victory at all.
It doesn't look like it. And it's a nice difference to be sat here sort of discussing, because there was a bit of a concern that W7M were going to, you know, start to struggle and sort of drag over that performance that they had over inside of stage 1. But as you say, already we're seeing good performances out of you know, the likes of Mav and GDN. Mav, that player that essentially played out on a bit of an island on his own inside of the second round underneath of, inside a kitchen underneath the dorms, and was able to get a couple of important kills. Don't forget, last time that we saw this game, it was an 8-6. It really was a game that went all the way. Let's see if this one has the same fate. We do have the lobby back together. Thank you for bearing with us. We're just going to do some final checks and throw ourselves back on in. Team 1-2, W7M1.
Back down to the basement as well, which is the one site so far that W7M have successfully defended. And it came with that really risky play as well from Panico, the way that he decided to basically secure his own living tomb, staying in elbow when it got reinforced off, but he got a really good play off the back of it. A great kill onto Alamau after he used only one of his Flores drones. So you removed a star player, you removed this really key operator that they're trying to lean into, and it took a lot of time for Team 1 to really be able to respond. Then the 3 kills from GDN at the end, it was great. Now, one of the big problems that we spoke about at the end of that round was that Team 1 were all coming in from the same direction. Everyone was stacked up in construction. There are lots of different ways that you can push onto this site. Whether you want to go for blue and tower, whether you want to use freezer, whether you want to come in from laundry. There are those 4 main routes of ingress, and Team 1 only used one of them. It would be a relatively easy adaptation for them to change that in this round, and that could, just that, change the momentum and the outcome of it.
We'll see if Team 1 are willing to make said adjustment in their approach. Let's see how the round plays out with more Flores action as well, because I do believe it will be quite different, and maybe it was that kill that was gotten onto Alamar that was enough for Panico to sort of say, yep, I am going to play inside of Elbow, and I'm just going to try and hold this with everything that I've got. Initial drone work that is going on. We can see everybody on the side of Team 1, aside from Levy, initially in their drone, just gathering that information. Herd's feeling the pinch. Will drop down into freezer. That hatch being open isn't the end of the world. It's a hatch that is very expected to be open, but KDS with some aggression. Sure, he's taken out the default, but is he going to push all the way on down? It looks as though for a time he's just going to back off.
Pressure onto freezer is a good sign, though. It suggests that Team 1 aren't going to go about it the same way that they did before. And I like the placement of these mirror windows, too. W7M are aware that that's a change that Team 1 could be looking to make. So they're keeping eyes on the laundry side as well. But now here's the rotate round to construction, and already some damage done to Neskin as he loses a couple of points of HP. And Panico's about to push up to get nice and aggressive.
Panico and playing aggressively inside a bunker. It's becoming a little bit of a pattern. He certainly has a lot of confidence to do so. Confidence could be short-lived. As a flash comes in, the shield will be destroyed. This time, just by a plain good old grenade. It's enough to push the players out of that position. We can hear Flores' drone going off. I assume that's going to be for a Malusi Banshee, although it doesn't seem to have got it. Banshee's still going to be active on the right-hand side of that double door. Panico's still in a position to try and play aggressively here, though. I'm now going to go in for a second attempt. So that one will explode. I believe going after a couple of ADSs, as that really could cause a couple of problems. We can hear almost constant pinging from these Flores drones as they go off and attempt to destroy odd bits of utility here or there, but there's certainly something that Alamar is consistently trying to get, and it seems to be coming at the cost of everything. That was a flawless round for W7M. Time running short, and Team 1 left with no option.
It was a really peculiar one, because even though the different directions that Team 1 were coming in from, the way that they changed their approach each time, the way that they were using the Flores drones, it was all designed to kind of set W7M into a frenzy. But the problem is what it did is it forced W7M to all move into the site itself, into the supply site. They were all together. And at that point, there's not that much time left. Team 1 have to push into the site. And oh wait, we forced all the defenders to go into this room. Wouldn't that be a shame if they killed us all? And that's what happened, right? It's like you forced them all backwards, because even though their approach certainly had brains behind it, they had thought it through, what they hadn't succeeded in doing when doing that was actually getting any picks. They hadn't really cleared anything. So you can try and influence the positioning of your enemies, but if you're not killing them and you're ushering them all onto the site, then they're going to be waiting for you when you need to go there too. So it's all well and good to come about it with a new, refreshed idea. You've actually got to make sure you're killing those people earlier on to give yourself the advantage when it matters.
And it seems like the Flores is not the thing that's slowing Team 1 down, but there's a lot of focus on removing whatever utility that is. And you've got to think of, you know, the hundreds of games that have been played, the thousands of games that have been played before Flores was a thing, and it just kind of feels like a square peg being forced into a round hole at the moment. All those kills coming in those final 10 seconds as well. The clock struck 30 and the first one started, and everyone was dead by the time the clock struck 20 seconds. So a very quick round after the action started to unfold for W7M. And they are remaining competitive here. Now, all of that has forced a little bit of a switch around. No longer have we got the book on the side of Team 1. Instead, Alamau are going to be playing on the Nomad, looking to try and restrict some of that rotation. There are going to be players playing underneath inside of Kitchen once again, looking to try and take advantage of something that we know Team 1 to like to do.
It was Mav who was doing that last time, as you mentioned before. It's Mav doing it once again. He is protected by one of his Vulcan shields, and I believe he is alone down here, but it's very interesting that Team... Oh, they've got one in security as well. Okay, so he's not quite alone. But it is interesting to me that Team 1, you know, have to, I suppose, commit so many resources to try and clear that out. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's good that they're going for it. But it just means that it's wasting time and it's wasting resources and manpower that could be used elsewhere. Now, the fact that there was a shot that came out from security right after those shots were missed going in is going to tell Team 1 that there was someone in there. And it'll be Neskin who's the first one to go down. Panico with another C4. He's been playing very well with those.
Really making the C4s count. Again, Team 1 coming from disadvantaged position. Neskin going to have lost 2 nades as well. Still had 1 alive, so certainly something that they could have looked to try and make a bit of use of. KDS instead going to try and push his way on through. Does manage to take down Herds. How much impact is that really going to have? Typically, we like to see Team 1 get themselves in through that double window, and it's usually a point of contention that they're going to try and fight for. That and the white stairs. You're going to take KDS down. Mav looking for a peek onto anybody on Dorm's rappel. Gonis continuing to try and pressure on into that dormitories area, but Alamau has made his way on through. Actually got himself into sight. Doesn't have the diffuser in hand though, and it's going to be a slew of utility being thrown on through. Ultimately, a Toxic Babe canister is going to do Lagonis dirty, as that's going to leave the diffuser down cold. Only 10 seconds now remaining. Alamau in the 1 versus 3. Caught out in the wood. What a horrible place to be. Cannot see a thing. He's going to get pre-fired on through.
So difficult as well. I mean, Lagonis knew that there weren't many options. He had to try and get in through the Toxic Babe canister and got DBNO'd and swiftly killed as a result. If you're Alamau and you've kind of jumped in and you're trying to peek around through the holes in the wall, but the smoke is in the way, so not only can you not really gain a line of sight and see anyone, but then you don't know where the proximity alarm is either, and you can't get rid of that. Not great. Not great for Team 1 at the end there. So W7M actually take the lead in this series so far. Now, where is the next site? Okay, meeting. I didn't look fast enough when we were on the previous screen. So this was that interesting one that back in round 3, Team 1 did win it. And it really came from that great kill that we spoke about that happened from Neskin, giving them the opening. Then they used their Capitan utility to help facilitate the push forward. Panico was the last player standing from W7M, and you can't really achieve much on your own, especially when you're as outnumbered as you were. Now, if I remember correctly, Ollie, Alamau didn't play Flores in round number 3.
Correct.
So once again, he's leaning into that operator, wants to clear utility. Similarly, I suppose, to how he did in round 4, but as we mentioned before, it wasn't an operator that really changed their fate that much. Every round that Team 1 have brought Flores, they've died.
Let's see if it can change some fortunes here. There's certainly a lot of utility that's going to be able to get at. With the consistent mute pick on the side of W7M, it does make it a little bit more difficult to get those drones into the right location. Now, there is more that goes into an operator's pick aside from the utility and aside from the obvious 4 exploding drones. Something else that Flores does bring is 3 flashes. That's extraordinarily handy when you're trying to either flash people out, burn utility, deal with somebody in quite a powerful position that's got a lot of things going from, like we see GDN playing multiple ADSs, probably got a mute jammer there as well, and there is of course the shield that he's looking to play with it as well. Now, Alamau's going to be able to get in, immediately destroy that shield, and it just does something else to weaken that position that GDN is currently in.
already one of the Flores drones has been used. You have to remember as well that because Sledge got banned out, you pretty much have to rely on Flores to get rid of a lot of the utility. KDS narrowly missing out on a potential kill onto Panico. Will get away with his life, but 20 HP remaining doesn't make him very strong standing. He knows that he's being hunted down as well. Lagonis gets stunned out. Is he being watched from another angle? The answer, of course, is yes, but he doesn't necessarily know where that is.
Neskin is going to be able to find that frag onto GDN as KDS is aggressively looking to swing. Will be taken down by Mav and Guy. Neskin eventually comes in with that refrag. 3 versus 2 now in favor of Team 1. Herds again. Just getting caught out of position. Levy, no, you're going to get taken out. Such great foresight to throw the drone for the flank watch, but you hate to see it go down like that. Herds, he's going huge. He's managed to find himself 2. Done something to shift the table. Lagonis now in the disadvantaged position. 2 versus 1. He has site control. But does he know it? Does he know that he can get this plan down with 30 seconds left to go? He's going to look to start to try and confirm it. W7M, they have the intel. They have the scoop. Can we hit the shots? Panico certainly can. He comes on through and finds that final kill.
It was an attempt at bait there, I suppose, but when you're 2 versus 1, you can really just run straight up, because if Lagonis looked up and killed one of them, the other was going to kill him anyway. So W7M sat advantaged at the half. Nice place to be in Team 1. Maybe feeling a bit stung about that. These are, you know, these young prodigies, the team that everybody fell in love with after the 6th Invitational, during the 6th Invitational, I should say. W7M didn't qualify for the 6th Invitational. They didn't even come close to qualifying for the 6th Invitational. And they have so far, you know, paved the way for putting Team 1 back into the ground. But now things are on attack. That could be very different. One of the things I was talking about in that previous round is that with the Sledge ban, you pretty much have to rely on a Flores unless you're going to bring a ton of operators that carry frag grenades. But the problem with that is you then end up finding yourself switching out from operators that would be more standard or more meta. And there is utility that you may want on your team that you will lose because you have to make that I can't think of the word. You have to make the switch and decide the compromise. There we go. That's the word that I was thinking of. So, for example, that's why we see a reason why Yana might be brought. She has the Gon 6. She also carries frag grenades. Nook also carries frag grenades. So there are 4 on the side of W7M at this point. That means they don't have to bring the Flores, but it also means that they're choosing to bring operators that are a little bit less orthodox for what you might expect for an attack.
I enjoy how we're talking about orthodox operators on attack, and currently we have a Lion and a Nook in the same lineup. It just seems a little bit out there and a little bit wild from W7M. They've got a couple of rounds to play with here, but they have to be very mindful of the fact that this is Oregon, and it is not a map you can expect to win all of your attacking rounds on. You need to make all of them count. You do end up throwing a couple away. It can be a pretty big loss. Now, E1D going to come on through. Seemingly has no impact. The minute it's going to at least let the defenders know that Lion is going to be in play. But Team 1, they're not looking to roam all too much. And why should they? They're defending downstairs. They're defending Laundry. The most powerful site on this map for defenders. There's no reason to give up that position, and they're not doing so. The Nook, again, you've got to ask a little bit of a question. Why is the Nook being brought here? What is it expected to do? Maybe a sneak down freezer or something of that sort, but ultimately that should be something that can be dealt with.
I mean, I assume the nades are a big part of it, but maybe they're going to go in for a kind of, yeah, let's have most of our people on this side of the map and make it look like our attack's entirely coming from this side, and then a Nook to go in from a different direction and maybe sneak in behind. I'm not entirely sure. I guess we'll find out. Right now, a lot of W7M are stacked up above this meeting hatch. which is a normal place to be. And one of our big criticisms of a lot of Brazilian teams last stage was that many of them would all just full send their entire team down the meeting hatch and be completely butchered for it. So it's been nice that so far we haven't seen that. And I don't want W7M to end up doing the same thing because it very rarely works.
Push is going to have to happen sooner rather than later, and still with surrogates to try and get on through. There's a lot of work here to do for W7M. We are going to see some nades come on through, but they will be caught out inside of the magnet. KDS opens the account with a clean 2 before being taken down by Panico. GDN swings to his death as well, as Levy is going to be lying in wait for him. Lagonis, he's managed to keep himself alive. He's still got a charge of an ADS, and he still has a deployable shield. Looking to play super tight, and he's just going to let Levy do all of the hard work for him. Alamau, he swings in, picking up that final frag, saying, I want a piece of the action as well, boys. Team 1 looking much better here on defense.
Oh, Guy looking away at the very last second. I mean, I know at that point, you know, it didn't look super hopeful for W7M, but just the knowledge that it was a millisecond in it at that point, kind of painful to see there. So now Team 1 are going to go upstairs, and W7M not bringing a Lion again this time, but they have decided to bring Nook. So once again, I suspect this is going to be a pattern with them, which does lead me to believe, like back to what I was saying, the nades are probably a big part of that. Because who would you bring as your 4th and 5th nades? I suppose you could bring Maverick.
Maverick.
He hasn't been banned out.
Be a good shout.
Got a great gun as well.
Maverick, it's a bit of a surprise that we haven't seen a Maverick as of yet, because I think we saw a little bit of Team 1 playing Maverick, but we've certainly not seen it be brought yet from W7M. Sure, you have Hibana and you have that ability to open up hatches with only a couple of pellets, and while it's great and wonderful, Maverick is still a very viable option for that, especially when you think toward the hatches that we have here on Oregon. And I know that we're talking about something that's more akin to the sort of basement level, but they're very safe hatches to open. It's not like it's surrounded by a soft floor. Now, looking a bit more specifically toward this site and why you would opt to bring Maverick as opposed to the Hibana, is that you would like to have an ability to open up not only games, but you would also like an ability to open up attic. Now, inside of Brazil, that isn't something that we see all too often. We tend to see the Brazilian teams favour a push in through white stairs, where they then just sneak into games, and then they pressure the double window at the same time. Attic is very seldom attacked, and it's something that I'd like to see these teams bringing on in and just adding as another string to the bow, because the attacks do occasionally get a little bit samey. I want to see how W7M approach this, and if they do try that sort of two-pronged approach.
I mean, and it's one of those things too that when we do see Attic get pushed, it is almost always with a Maverick, assuming he's available, especially as one of the things that bringing a Maverick allows you to do is open up just one small hole on the wall so that you can throw in a projectile, get rid of a shield, for example, that may be down in pit. So he gives you a lot of flexibility in how you want to take control of Attic. That's not an option in this round, given that they didn't choose to bring a Maverick. And actually, a lot of this push from W7M is seemingly downstairs.
Makes sense for the time being. Downstairs is something that certainly Team 1 familiar with pushing. Ooh, Panico there with a nice nade on through. Gonna deal a huge chunk of damage over toward Lagonis. The nade just bounced perfectly and exploded as it hit the ceiling. Lagonis still with the line of sight though, still got that possibility to put those players down that come on through, but he does have to be mindful. Toxic Babe canisters being used already as well. W7M are very much still in the fact-finding part of this round. Unfortunate for Mavers. He's going to perform what you could call a rookie error, Gio, and get himself taken out by his own nade.
Oh, those rookies, what are they like? Well, and we were talking about the sanctity of having nades available because of the lack of the sledge, and he's just wasted one. So, not great, W7M there. And they're still pressuring from down below. And with about 45 seconds remaining, they're going to have to make this rotate upstairs soon, but still droning out to get rid of those Banshees over in the armory corridor. Trophy's going to be hotly contested as well. I'm not sure how easy it's going to be for W7M to make this push, Ollie.
Single doorway push never looks like a fun time. KDS, though, he is going to get caught on out. Levy, he has a long line of sight that he might be able to take advantage of. But the players around him fall. He could be out in the cold as he's in the 1 versus 4. Quickly makes it the 1 versus 3. Got the glimpse of the player, but you know, times are tough when you're drawing for the pistol. How has it gotten to this point? W7M make it count. They flood in with frags. They're able to overpower Team 1 here on this top floor.
So they didn't go for the attic approach, but their approach from down below certainly worked for them. And they were doing it in a 4 versus 5, essentially, because of Mav's martyrism.
Mav's mishap.
Yeah, you know, whatever alliterative descriptor you would like to use, it wasn't part of the plan, I can't imagine. And I did wonder if they were going to run out of time towards the end, because there was still so much utility to clear through the armory corridor, through Trophy, that was meant to pave their way forward into the site. If they had time to deal with all that, especially if their Zafir had been brought down, you know, what do you do at that point? You don't have much advantage to be able to clear everything out. Well, my fears turned out to be completely baseless, because it wasn't a problem at all. So now Team 1... they've only won 1 of their 2 defenses so far. Coming to meeting and kitchen. This one will be an interesting one. Again, at dining. Not going to be visited so far by either of these teams. Team 1 had a pretty good going at it when they were attacking onto this site, or at least back in round number 3. They didn't successfully attack in round number 6. Can W7M do the same thing?
It's a scary prospect, really, if you are Team 1 or a Team 1 fan, that W7M could lock this onto a match point and really put the pressure on, especially with previous performances, and it kind of stamped down a bit of authority that this new improved side of W7M is here to change the results of past and try and rectify their position inside of the standings. It doesn't really ask for much of a better start if they are able to get this one over the line. They have got this round to contend with. Information being gathered as top floor will have to be pushed. Team 1 just seem all but too happy to be taking these aggressive firefights, as KDS is going to be playing upstairs. He's got utility invested in Trophy, but regularly is dipping into games as well, and really just trying to be everywhere at once.
He actually only narrowly missed the shot that he was going for onto Game's window. I'm impressed that he didn't actually put in any damage, because it certainly looked like, from our perspective, that he might have, but the answer to that was no. Begonis hidden out insecurity. That's going to give him quite a lot of safety while using these yokai drones, one of which we can see he is rolling around upstairs. KDS has pinged out for his team too. Still everybody standing. Panico just round the corner. Droning out KDS is going to force him to move, and W7M are going to use that as their cue to actually make their way into the top floor.
Mav at the top of these armory stairs still has a little bit of information to gather before he's going to be happy to flood on through. He knows that he's got a couple of players up here that he's got to try and contend with, but he wasn't counting on Levy. Beautiful flank, well timed, loads of information here available for Team 1 as they still have C4s in hand. Panico going to reply as he takes down Neskin. KDS in with the immediate trade. This is looking a lot better from Team 1.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're at 50 seconds, and the floor above the site still hasn't been cleared. Finally, KDS is taken down, and you can get some kind of an angle down below, but Levy's going to continue to add on to the kill count. Herds looking to open up the soft floor, but this is still going to be very tight and very difficult for W7M. GDN's looking for some kind of victim. He's going to get smoked out as he pushes. It makes the positions that he can take so much more risky and so much more limited. 20 seconds remaining, and he's going to find his death, leaving just GDN. The oNe puts the second one in, and Team 1 take their next round.
The longer that Team 1 can keep W7M off of round 6, the better in this regard. You don't want to give them that chance of momentum. You don't want to give them that opportunity. Team 1 looking now to try and level things up. They're going to take us back downstairs. They need to try and find some successes here, because previously we haven't seen them attack this site all too well. We've seen them defend it once a little bit earlier on. There was a round that came down very close to the wire indeed. Bit of a change on the side of W7M, as they're going to opt to bring both a Gridlock and a Nomad. Obviously feeling the sting of Levy and that flank in the previous round, and just not wanting it to happen again.
I mean, I think that's kind of a good thing. It, of course, is an investment for W7M operator-wise, but the interesting thing about it is it could facilitate them to just focus on the floor that they want to go in on. In this case, probably the ground floor or the basement, one of the two, and not have to worry so much about the roam that could be elsewhere. Because if you can put down enough utility with the track stingers and with the air jabs, you basically prevent, for example, KDS or, for example, Levy, whoever's going to be out off the site, you prevent them from having all of those routes through which they could actually access the site once again. So it's almost like trapping them elsewhere and quarantining them to a place where you can kind of put them out of mind for a little bit and focus on everything else, and in an ideal scenario, focus on just 3 or 4 defenders instead of all 5. So W7M have very clearly identified what their problem was from that previous round, and Team 1's roam really did run rings around W7M, so I do not blame them for noticing that that's their problem, and they are directly attacking it at their core. The question is choosing to lean into this going to hurt them in other places because of operators they can't choose?
Information gathering stage of the round, as both teams are looking to try and gain a bit more of a fuller picture. Mav able to get himself into the Gemini and to check, see what it looks like inside of meeting. There's got to be no chance in the world that W7M get flanked here with what they have brought as a flank protection. Also, the Gridlock track stingers can be used to try and shift players out of position, especially if it's combined with some sort of distracting utility like a stun grenade or something that's just going to stop the player from instantly shooting the track stingers out. Also something to mask the sound of a plant, although it's kind of unlikely that we get to that point in this round. Aniko just looking to drone on out, gather a little bit of intel. He's no doubt seen a ton of magnets and all sorts of utility there that is designed to try and soak up what the attackers have to throw. So far, it's not doing a bad job.
Are all the members of Team 1 currently on the ground floor or the basement, or is Levy still elsewhere? Because I can't see any silhouettes above this floor, in which case that could be a problem for a lot of the rotate controlling utility. Panico narrowly missing a shot round by Pillar onto KDS. KDS is going to be looking up towards those tower stairs now, very aware that there is someone present. A lot of the Toxic Babe canisters have also been utilized, and you could argue it's kind of early because W7M haven't committed to the push yet. Ingo the flashes, but the first kill is going to be afforded to Lagonis.
Ooh, Mav is going to get cut down almost instantly after dropping. Levy seeing some pressure come his way as well. Does manage to get the frag over onto Panico, but GDN is inside of the site. Alamo is there to pick the pieces up. Team 1 are going to level things up. 5 rounds apiece here.
Yeah, I mean, that was the fear I kind of had, was when you're attacking onto this site, you actually mentioned it much earlier on in the cast, is it's way more likely that defenders are going to be turtling on this site more than any other site. So while they lent into the floor that they realized they had, was that floor going to be as relevant on the basement site? Well, the answer to it in that round was no, it wasn't. And they had less that they could throw in. They had less where they could try and clear from above. The instance that W7M found themselves in was that they had to aggress to actually be able to do anything substantial. So they threw in all of these flashes, jumped down the meeting hatch. They didn't really have any control of what was going on below them before that happened. So it was kind of just a blind send it. You know what I mean? They had to just jump in and try and get the kills that they could. We saw a bloodbath ensue, constant kills backwards and forwards. But ultimately, as the attacking team in that situation, you're not in the advantaged position. So unsurprising to me that Team 1 managed to win that round out, but what it does mean is now that they've evened out the scoreline. W7M have really struggled on their attack here on Oregon. They've taken 1 round of the 4 that have been played on this half, and I don't know how much confidence I have that they'll be able to pull it back and prevent Team 1 from taking a regulation victory here.
And you think back to some of the rounds that W7M were able to get on the defense, and it didn't always rely on a big performance, but often it was, you know, Mav stepping up or whoever it might be to gain a good couple of frags and to put them back in the driver's seat. That coordination isn't something that happens as easily on the attack. You can't just rely on a couple of kills. It has to be a nicely executed push to really get the job done. And maybe that's just something that we're seeing W7M struggle with at the moment with this new roster and the fact that they won't have been playing together for as long a time as perhaps they would like to. There may just be a couple of flaws in terms of that coordination and that terms of when they're trying to make the execute happen, how quickly and how effectively that can go through and that can work. So it's something worth keeping an eye on, as if they do start to continually struggle with it, it could be a bit of an alarm bell. But for the time being, Oregon is playing out as Oregon plays out.
Look who they decided to bring for this one. There's a Maverick! Maverick is actually being brought for a top floor attack. And even though W7M's attack onto this site was successful last time they came here in round 8, it wasn't from that approach that we thought maybe would be useful, and that is by trying to pressure onto Attic and take the control there. They actually had a lot of their pressure coming in from below, and it played on the floor below the site, moved up very late. Now, they still do have presence down here. Of course, you can see Neskin being pressured from outside of security. Herds knows that someone is just outside the white stairs as well, because he just saw them. So there is still a lot of this presence, and we don't know for sure if Attic's going to be pressured upon, but a Maverick would make that easier, so will Neskin's death.
Herd's able to find a nice opener there. Just before the minute mark ticks on. Going to remove the mute, which is, of course, an SMG-11, and arguably more importantly at this point, a C4. As it was the only C4 that Team 1 had brought, so stands to reason why Neskin was playing downstairs. Going to make use of that vertical and try and assist his team that way. Alamau knows that somebody's going to be playing on the side of white. EDN now trying to make his approach and push a little bit more firmly in through that double window. Full attic reinforced still is at least going to give Team 1 one less angle to worry about. Alamau going to try and play inside of the middle of the site as we're almost seconds away from a big window hop in. KDS gets taken down there. Guy's patience really paying off for him. Now Levy has to try and take this as a two-pronged gunfight. It's going to hit his shots onto the first. Games room wall being reinforced is going to help everybody on the side of Team 1 at this moment in time as Lagonis secures the kill with the shotgun, keeps himself alive, the diffuser cold on the ground, 2 seconds left. Guy has to push on through. But he didn't account for Alamau sat inside of the corner of dorms. That's going to be a match point for Team 1.
Yeah, that one again was very messy. You know, W7M still tried to come down from below, and similarly to what happened in round 8, I had the concern that maybe they were going to run out of time, it was going to get too aggressive, it was going to get too fighty, and the problem that they faced here was that there were certain parts of that top floor that had been left untouched. I mean, the actual kids' dorms room, a room that is referred to as kids, the pink one, that was kind of a safe haven for defenders, and we saw a lot of those kills come through from that area at the end there. Lagonis and Alamau, where they were popping off, was because they weren't being pressured there. And you know what would have allowed that place to be pressured, Ollie? attic control. So it comes back to the thing that we were talking about before. It's so much easier to clear out that area if you are spending actual effort looking out for attic. So I don't want to totally, you know, decimate the way that W7M played that, because I think when you look back to round 8, there was certainly reason to believe that it could have gone well. Fact is, in this case, it didn't, and I don't think it's a super reliable strategy that you can depend upon. But this is the first time that we're seeing dining be played. Team 1 may be trying to throw W7M off the scent and not confuse them, but take them by surprise just because this isn't a super popular site to be chosen. I love this site. I think it's great.
I would prefer meeting, honestly.
Well,
each to their own. We'll have to see how W7M want to try and approach this one. Typically, you're going to get a big choke point in and around showers. Certainly, with the lineup that has been brought by W7M, it could be said that they have been thrown off somewhat, as I guess you still need to take that top floor control. You can still use the book to try and achieve that. You can lock the flanks off with the Nomad, which, for all that we're seeing a lot of flank watch and flank protection being brought from the side of W7M, it isn't really doing them too many favors, because Team 1 have almost just gone the entire other way and said, "You got flank watch? Brilliant. We're not going to move. We are not going to leave the site." This round is going to have to be a little bit different. You do have to contest and control for that top floor, and it's going to be in the hands of Levy currently. Now, he does have the walls into attic from dormitories reinforced, and he's got a bit of protection as well from big window, so he isn't going to be the easiest player to remove here. Neskin as well going to assist him at the top of white. It'd be quite nice to try and stay alive here. It's certainly going to give W7M something to contend with. A yokai drone coming up as well. It's going to make the job even easier. Wiggle peeking around Panico. He's able to find the kill against the odds.
Yeah, make the job even easier, and yet Panico gets the kill regardless. Does he know that he's left another player alive upstairs? Especially now one of his own players has died. That's Herd's Zafir taken down, and I do wonder how their control into showers is going. Looking onto the drone, it suggests not very well. Alamau still holding on in there, and if you don't have a Zafir who can help clear out some of the utility in there, it's going to be very difficult to actually take that control, and we know how important that area of the map can be if you want to be pushing into dining. I'm glad that W7M have showed some interest in pushing upstairs. That was the Gemini going into the Surya gate to get rid of it, and that allows Guy to get the kill onto Alamau.
I mean, it's one way to use a Gemini.
Well, that's why I paused, because I was going to say that was interesting.
ADS now going to try and challenge onto the long angle as the pressure does start to mount here onto W7M. Not very many of the kills going in their favor. Panico, he has got a lot of work to do here inside of the 1v1. He is going to make it happen. Achieves the down, doesn't thirst after the kill. Is able to pick up the second. Team 1 and W7M here going toe-to-toe.
This is overtime number 2 of the day. I'm wondering if we'll be able to make it a hat trick after our next game, especially given that FaZe versus MIBR, I think, will probably be quite well matched. But we did say that about Liquid versus NIP, and, well, if you haven't seen the game, I suggest you go and watch the VOD of that one, because it was certainly something. Either way, this is a very, very good game for... Well, it's a good game for us as the viewers. For the guys in the server, they're going to be frustrated with regardless of which side you're on. Team 1 probably expecting a more dominant game than has been, just because of the past record of W7M and the way that they performed at SI. W7M will be feeling good that things are going well for them, but at the same time, they want to clinch it out and secure that first win and show that they are a force to be reckoned with. Well, there's still an opportunity to do that. W7M are going to be on the attack for this first half. And once again, we're seeing these strange operator picks be brought out from them. So Nook isn't going to be part of the squad today. But Lion is back. Gridlock, but without a Nomad this time. And then this time, we're also going to be seeing a Sam Fisher with the Argus cams provide some extra information along to the team. And And he also has... No, okay. I was going to say utility, but he's brought a secondary heart breach.
He has brought the tin opener, as it is affectionately known. Not enough to do all too much, but you can at least get a hatch open or try and get a bit of a line of sight going. You're going to be locking that line pick in again. It seems as though W7M are just utterly terrified of giving anybody on the side of Team 1 any room to stretch their legs. And sure, it's a valid concern. Team 1 are a team that are capable of flanks, they're capable of lurk plays where someone's just going to try and hide out somewhere and then strike. It does make sense why we're seeing this much attention be shown toward that area of the game. But again, you worry about the cost that that comes with. And the cost in this case is going to be only 2 grenades. Going to significantly limit really what W7M are going to be able to try and deal with, especially when you look to what is being brought here on the side of Team 1. There's going to be mirror windows to contend with, a deployable shield, typical player inside of elbow. But for all that we're talking about that, there is attention currently being paid toward laundry hatch.
I like this idea, you know, I like the idea of them coming in somewhere that maybe they, the defenders wouldn't expect, but there is quite literally a defender directly below them, having to shoot off some of the Havana pellets so they can try and get the Argus cam actually in a position where it's going to give them the information they want. Neskin seems really unfazed, though. He's still in laundry, sat with the M590 out, ready right next to the barricade. Finally, he's got to move back because W7M go for the good old-fashioned drone, which they could have done anyway. So that one didn't quite work out for them, and I don't know if they're going to still decide to commit to laundry, especially as they can't actually get the hatch open yet.
Certainly causing them a lot of concern. KDS may be trying to play a little bit more aggressively here as we see the utility start to come on through, but a beautifully timed Toxic Babe canister from Alamau. Almost as if he had clairvoyance for that one just a second before Lion Scan came through, which is usually the indicator of a bit of an attacking push. KDS is going to get himself hidden away into Harry Potter after picking up a big frag over onto Herds Mav. He's getting chipped down along with Panico. KDS will fall in the engagement. Long angles being held by Team 1 and making this job a little bit easier as Mav isn't sitting on all too much health, but it is enough to get Panico up for the final 12 seconds to see just how this round will end. But they end up trading, and they're going to spend the majority of it picking one another up. Guy's able to block out that mirror window, but is it going to be enough? Plant is being confirmed.
It's going to do
the kills continue to come on in. Neskin, how is he left in the 1 versus 3? W7M, they have pulled off a huge and enormous heist.
Oh my God.
Going to find that final frag. What an important plant that was from W7M.
That was absolutely wild because W7M spent so much time trying to set up for a kind of push that they eventually abandoned. When they moved down onto the side, it was what, a 4 versus 4? And with barely any time, there was fewer than 10 seconds remaining. At that point, you basically think in your head, yeah, there's no way we're going to be able to win out these gunfights, at least not in the time we have allotted to us. But because GDN started going on the plant that was entirely left to its own devices, he finished that, and suddenly the post-plant begins. Those positions switch, because as the defenders, you're not protected by the clock anymore. You have to secure those kills on your enemies, and they are right on top of you. They're in your face. So W7M used that to their advantage. They got all the kills that they needed and wanted. Neskin on his own at the end. Great player. But my dude, it just wasn't going to happen. And W7M walk away with a win on that round for it. And that's great when you look at their record of attacking in this game alone.
Yeah, that's the key thing to really take away there, is that their ability to come away with the round under pressure and to come up with those kills. Somebody focuses on getting the plant down, and then everyone else just focuses on grabbing the frags. And it's a bit of a pattern that's developing, because it's something that we've seen happen before from W7M previously inside of this game, where they have been able to get those scrappy kills and to drag the game over the line. We could be seeing the same scoreline, albeit sides flipped inside of this game as we did the first time we saw these two teams play each other in stage 1. Was an 8-6 toward Team 1. This time, W7M have an opportunity to rectify that, redeem themselves for that result, get one back onto Team 1. And the chances right now as we do sit on an overtime match point.
Pressure is on to Team 1. Remember, of course, back in Stage 1, it was an overtime win between these two teams, but it was Team 1 who won 8-6 here on Oregon. Well, an 8-6 scoreline is impossible for them at this point. They will have to win the next 2 rounds if they're to take the overtime victory against W7M here. But W7M could take an 8-6 victory, and now they're on the defense, which looks substantially stronger for them back on the first half. Maybe that's what's going to happen. Still, just waiting for the attackers to make their moves. Lots of droning to be done. They've got to get the meeting hatch open still. That Ying, I would imagine, is going to be used to facilitate a drop down through the meeting hatch. So again, we might be seeing this classic Brazilian full send strategy, which doesn't typically work out that well. And if W7M are far back enough from the meeting hatch, they could still win this out in gunfights alone.
Starts to look quite scary, doesn't it, when you see the positioning that Team 1 are holding currently, and you know that they've got the Ying, you know that they've brought quite a few nades this time. Just kind of concerned and kind of worried that if this just does end up in an electrical box drop, that we're going to see a very similar result to the results that we've seen previously when that is attempted. The Candela is going to come on down. Ooh, almost a little bit too late, but Herds is going to peek away at the right time. Kills initially coming in here for Team 1, but with Levy downed, it's a great loss. The C4 will hit and land over onto Lagonish. And all of the pressure and all of the speed that was in this attack has been sucked on out of it. Herds still has a couple of ADSs at his feet that may come to be quite crucial. Mav allowed to hold on to the long angle, but Neskin is going to reply. He's going to find himself a frag of his own. Herds gets caught running away. We do enter a 3 versus 2. Still in favor of Team 1. It's all about how heavily Guy and Mav can dig on through here. He's got a bit of a line of sight, but no real action. Mav instead will be able to find the frag, but the plant will go down. Guy looking to aggressively push on up. He has eyes on the diffuser. If Mav can come up with a couple of important kills here, it could be massive, but Neskin says not today. We go to Max OT.
Oh, it is going all the way. And that was such a touch and go round. They jumped down, as I suggested they were going to, into the meeting hatch. You get stunned out, but the diffuser almost immediately gets dropped cold on the floor. And Levy being DBNO'd, you think there is no way that the attackers are actually going to be able to hold on to this. But Levy got away safely. He got picked up, and all of the attackers are together in the pillar area to be able to help one another out. The problem there is that W7M, despite the fact that the diffuser had gone down cold, W7M didn't have direct line of sight onto the diffuser because of its location. It was right in the door of electrical. So in order to protect it or prevent the attackers from getting hold of it again, they had to get aggressive. You don't really have a choice, because if you play passively, you don't have a long angle that you can hold on to. And the defenders would very safely be able to pick it back up. So they had to feed themselves into the machine and take those gunfights, which probably they wouldn't want to, because of the way that Team 1 is set up together. Because all 4 of them are standing in the same place, they have the opportunity to trade. So that's why it turned from one advantage to another so quickly, was because W7M simply had no other choice if they wanted to protect the diffuser.
Well, this one really is for all the marbles here. Team 1 on the defense. Is it the favorable side? Is it not the favorable side? We've seen over time sort of flip the script on what has been the norm throughout the course of regulation inside of this game. Not easy to say which team has the clear advantage coming into this round. But W7M, for all the changes that they have made, they can stand up and say, yeah, that has been worthwhile. We have played very differently to the way that we saw them play inside of stage 1. Can they come away with a win here and now on the opening day of stage 2? Time will tell. It would be a dying shame if all they were to do in terms of this matchup was get one more round than they did previously when they faced Team 1. Maybe, just maybe, they're able to get one over the line.
Lagonis choosing to bring along a Warden is an interesting choice. He hasn't actually brought the shield. He's brought a C4, so they're going to be playing for those. And yeah, there are smokes on the side of W7M, but I'm pretty sure only Mav is holding on to any. So I don't know how much of a big problem that's going to be. And how much this Warden is going to provide value. I mean, there are a ton of operators to bring C4s if that's what you wanted to bring. I guess we'll find out if that's going to make much of a difference. There goes the hatch starting to be opened. GDN's going to make a rotate around.
Levy has been a player that has caused quite a good couple of problems, particularly due to his positioning. This time, Team 1 are having to face something a little bit different, more of a laundry-sided push. Bird's going to try and gather a little bit of information. 3 drones going out currently to the side of W7M. Everybody's setting up and gathering. I just wonder what good it is going to do. There is nothing really that's giving them a beachhead to work with here. Going to need a little bit more control of Freezer. Toxic Babe Canister is going to stop the push for the time being, but under the cover of the EE1D, a push is going to materialize. Herds gets himself on him, but he's going to be down. He gets caught out by a few shots. Alamau says, I'm having that one, not the smoke canister. GDN inside of the freezer now, looking to try and burn on through, but all of these kills, despite the utility, are coming up for Team 1. As it could almost be a flawless round, but GDN says, no, not today. I'm going to find one, but it is likely to be an exit. Mav caught in the impossible situation. Alamau to clean up that final kill in what was a very close game of Oregon.
They didn't quite get the 8-6 of last stage, but an 8-7 will have to do. Regardless, W7M showed the hell up against Team 1, the sweethearts of Brazil that everybody fell for during SI. And Team 1, I mean, you gotta pay your opponents some respect after that. It was a very, very good game. But they have got some work to do, because you're meant to be one of the best in Brazil. That was